Hello everyone, my name is Dave McClelland. I looked like I wasn't sure of my surname there, but that is it. I am a wedding photographer based in Ireland, and I've been thinking it's 2018, and so I should have a YouTube channel, and that YouTube channel should have videos on it of things that I'm into. So here we go. This is it. So the first video I'm going to make is about the Fujifilm X-H1, and here it is, the Fujifilm X-H1. I should really take this off actually. I'll explain that in a second. But this is the Fujifilm X-H1. Isn't that nice? That is a very nice camera altogether. So I've been shooting with Fuji cameras exclusively for over 2 years, just over 2 years, when I opted to shoot with two X Pro 2s, and then I had an X Pro and an XT2, and then I had an X Pro and a X100F, and then I had an X Pro and a XE3, which is what this video is being recorded on, and but now I'm shooting with an X-H1. So there we go. Why am I shooting with the X-H1? Well, I'll go into those reasons, I guess. But the primarily, the primary reason is that I really wanted actually to get this lens, this 16 to 55 2.8 lens. I've had this kind of like dream to shoot a wedding with one camera and one lens for quite a long time, and I guess my style of wedding photography is, candid documentary style wedding photography. So with that in mind, I don't really necessarily need like this amazing depth of field and lenses that are going to let in a huge amount of light. All the previous lenses that I have, or not previous lenses, all the lenses that I own have always been primed. So this is the 56 1.2, this is the 14 2.8, the 35 f2, and that video is being recorded on the 23 f2. So all prime lenses, so chopping and changing or just having two bodies on me all the time. And I've had this kind of like dream to kind of shoot a wedding with one camera, one lens, and so this was one of the reasons I got this. This lens on an X Pro is just too big. I will show you, I will demonstrate the bigness of it. See what I mean? It's just a little bit too bulky and unbalanced. It's you could only hold that for a certain period of time before your thumb area there would start to get quite sore, because it just is digging in. Of course you could put your hand under to kind of help balance it or whatever, but yeah, I'd say in a while you're going to have a huge dent in your thumb. So I remember testing that in a shop once and thinking, nah, it's not for me. But with the X-H1, it is perfection. That feels so comfortable and perfectly balanced, and just feels, like it's supposed to be. So so that was the primary reason actually that I bought this camera, because I really wanted this lens. That might seem a bit crazy, but that's the way it is. But I'll talk about the other great things that the camera has. It has improved autofocus for sure over the X Pro and the other X series lenses. It's a marked improvement, and it is so clearly obvious when you get into low light scenarios. So like even in here, it's a fairly dark room with some spotlights on, a couple of little lamps and things like that, but it's still not a hugely bright room. But I'd be shooting weddings in rooms that are much, much, much darker than this, and this camera has little to no problem. Obviously some cameras miss autofocus now and again, and that's just part and parcel, but for the most part, this is hitting its autofocus really, really well, especially in comparison to like the X Pro, the X100, and the XE3, which just sometimes just would do a little bit of searching around in lower low light, low contrast scenarios. So that was the other big reason I bought it. Another great reason is this new, improved, extremely quiet shutter. I'll let you hear it. It's just fantastic. So let's just listen to that. Oh. It's lovely. It's amazing. I'll compare it to the X Pro just to let you hear what it's like. So you can hear the difference. X Pro, X-H1. I mean, oh, that's brilliant. That is brilliant. And so that was the other big plus point for me was that shutter button. It does have a tilt screen, a touch tilt screen. So you can I will demonstrate its functionality, but you can do the whole usual thing of getting it to take a shot when you just click on something on the screen. So I'm going to just focus on my desk over here. So that's the kind of speed. It's not too bad. You can also do it where it will just autofocus, and then you can take the shot with your hand. So you could do a little bit of two-handed action there. I say. So that's pretty good. Again, it's not really a function that would have made me go out and buy the camera, but it's a nice little feature, I guess. But the tilt screen is handy, especially that, I guess. That maybe not so much. A lot of people think that if I walk around and look down at my camera, it'll be really candid and discreet. It's not, it's really not. Because what happens is people look at you, think, what is he doing? He's taking a picture of us. He thinks he's being candid. No. You might as well just wait until the moment's right and snap them like that or whatever. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I think people are too savvy nowadays to know that is, or to not know that is a camera being pointed at them. But the option is there. But I tend to use it more for getting into angles that I really want to reach. So when I want to shoot down on something, I can either do it this way, or if I want to shoot down on something from a portrait point of view, I can tilt it this way and take a nice portrait shot. Tilt it down. There's my knees. Wow. Amazing. Good knee shot there. So yeah, the tilt screen is pretty handy. Obviously it doesn't have that in the X Pro. It is there in the XT2, but I just didn't like the XT2. I just couldn't get the grips with it. There was something I just did not like about it. For me, it was too kind of angular. It was, it just didn't feel right in my hands, and whereas this just feels extremely comfortable. And the exposure compensation dial on the XT2 is extremely stiff, whereas on the X Pro it's lovely and smooth and easy to turn with just your thumb. Speaking of exposure dials, the X-H1 has no exposure compensation dial. That's been removed and replaced by this very handy kind of screen that can show you things like your how many shots you have left, what your aperture's at, your ISO, your what film simulation you're shooting in, what your white balance is at. You can actually customize this to show pretty much whatever you want. When the camera is turned off, you'll see how many shots you have remaining, what your battery level's like, what cards you're shooting to, things like that. So that's a pretty handy function. But the exposure compensation dial is gone, and instead it's been replaced to one of two options. You can either do a combination of holding this button and moving this little dial to under or overexpose. To me, that's a little bit too awkward. So I've customized it to just use this button or this dial at the front, so I can overexpose or underexpose and then take the shot, which is pretty handy. I thought I would miss that exposure dial actually, but you soon get used to it, and I don't really miss it anymore. I will speak about the viewfinder. So obviously the viewfinder, as most people know, on the X-H1 and on the X-T2 before it, the viewfinder is beautiful. It's massive. It is extremely clear. The refresh rate in it is incredibly good. It's like 100 frames per second or something ridiculous like that. So it's extremely good, very high pixel count, and the refresh rate is great, obviously. But it's been made even better by a little purchase. I bought a X-H1 iCup. I'll put the link as to where I got this in the description below. I bought it from a UK photography website, and this is just brilliant. This is it here. Look at that. It's huge. So you slot that down, take off the old iCup, put on the new one, and I'll just get rid of that so you're not looking at me. There we go. Look at that there. Look at the size of that. And the great thing about it is I shoot all my weddings without my glasses. Whenever I put my eye to this, it just locks out all the light, whereas on the X Pro, I'm a left eye shooter, which is kind of unfortunate for these rangefinder style cameras, but it's hard to kind of get your eye right up against the glass. It's kind of annoying. This, it just locks out all the light. It is superb. And if you're a right eye shooter, it's a matter of just turning it round that way, right eye shooting. And if you're I don't know, a cyclops maybe, you can use that and look at the screen instead. No, that is if you've got the battery grip on, and then you can shoot that way as well. So it's really well thought out. That it's brilliant. Although they have made it jut out a little bit at the top, and it can block the hot shoe for certain items. That mic being one of them actually, which I tried, at one point. So yeah, so that iCup is a great addition. I would definitely get that if I was you. Obviously, it has the dual battery cards. I'll not go into all the technical details because there's a million X-H1 review sites out there, but I really wanted to focus on this from a wedding photographer's point of view, because a lot of the X-H1 videos that I came across online are aimed more at videographers and cinematographers and people who want this camera for its IBIS and things like that. So yeah, so I'll not really go into those kind of aspects, but from a photography point of view, I love it. The handling feels great. It's extremely quiet. The autofocus is first class. The viewfinder is beautiful. The screen on the back is great. The tilt screen is great. The IBIS is handy. Of course, it's extremely handy, but I'm a wedding photographer, so therefore I'm taking a lot of photographs of people, and people tend to move, so you're kind of, to be honest, limited to your shutter speeds when you're taking photographs of people anyway. I generally don't really go below 1/60th, but obviously if I need to take little details or things like that, then the image stabilization is going to come in pretty handy, because I can really reduce the ISO and lower my shutter speed and things like that, and get away with lovely crisp handheld shots. So yeah, I've used it now for about 3 or 4 weddings, and I really love it. Actually, it does have its flaws. Actually, it's more faults than flaws. It's got definite faults, and they have tried to fix a couple of those items in the firmware. And there's you'll probably see a video from me discussing that fault in greater detail, and just the absolute nuisance of it all. But remove that fault, put it to one side, because Fuji are extremely good at bringing out firmware updates and replacing these little flaws. So hopefully they'll fix it in one of those future firmware updates. So yeah, I mean, overall, I love it. I think it's a great camera. Highly recommend it as a wedding photographer's camera. Obviously Fuji have a wide number of amazing lenses to choose from, but really, just aside from all of those things, it's a great camera to use. It is, yeah, it's just superb. Thumbs up. 2 thumbs up. Maybe a little bit of a tilt just for the faults. But yeah, it's a great camera. I'll leave it there. This is my first YouTube video. So if you are leaving little comments, you know, be kind. And if you've any questions, I'd love to hear them. If you've any suggestions for future videos to make, I'd love to hear those too. And yeah, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, just somewhere around here, I think. I don't know actually where it is. I think it's over here. And yeah, be awesome. Maybe it's up there actually. I'm not sure where that button is. You'll find it. It's on the screen somewhere. But yeah, if you could hit the like, hit the subscribe, then you'll be seeing future videos from me, I guess. This is video number 1, and it's over. Thank you very much. Now I'm going to do what newsreaders do when they sit and tap their papers when they're finished. Talk to each other. It's a very good show, wasn't it? I like that bit you did about the thing. It's very good. Oh, did you? Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, I'll have a cup of coffee, thank you. Lovely. Just take your photo.